Good morning. This is our visual podcast of In Our Neighborhood. We are here today with Carmen Madsen from the American Red Cross and my partner in the agency, Janet Duffy. I'll turn it over to you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good.
Good. We're excited to be here. We were at the Red Cross a couple months ago talking to Diane, the executive director, about what's happening up here and as well as the safety and the way that you support families in the time of crisis. And that was just really good for us to hear, because I think that that's something that perhaps the public doesn't understand is the dynamics, the relationship American Red has in the time of crisis. So we wanted to come back because there's a lot more that you do.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, there is a lot that we do.
So our hope is today that you're going to talk about some of the initiatives or the projects that you really want to focus on in the next few months. Or always.
Yes. Well, one of the things that I want to talk about today is the need for blood donations, and that is a constant need. But particularly right now, there's a very significant need. As you probably have heard over the years, summer is just a very challenging time.
Right.
People are just really busy. And I think especially this summer, I think travel, they say, is at one of the highest levels. People are really trying
Not surprising, right? Everybody's just, we want to go
Get their COVID vacations in.
Exactly. We talk about that, for example, that every summer has always been a challenge, but it seems like this summer is even more challenging. And I think it is, coming out of COVID, people they're wanting to get the most out of their summers and enjoy it. And then, of course, schools and universities are out, which is a large group of people that donate for us. So really want to talk a lot about blood donations. But then we also have some other exciting news, things about not only the biomed side of things, but also our remodel here. And I think Diane probably touched on that a little bit the last time, but we're really excited
Just a little.
Just a little. Yes, we have lots of good things to share.
Wonderful.
So let's talk first about blood collection and the really crucial need that you have right now.
We do have a really crucial need at this time. As I said, it's just challenging in general in the summer, but what we're seeing is, our shelves are getting pretty low, and if that happens, what ends up happening is then we're not able to service the hospitals. And we service, the Red Cross in Montana services 30 hospitals.
Did you hear that all? 30
hospitals.
30 hospitals in the state of Montana.
Wow.
So like for last year, for example, we collected over 45,000 units of blood and with 1,400 blood drives. And when we start to see the decline in blood donations, it means that we may not be able to provide the hospital the type of blood that they need. So basically what happens is we have contracts with the hospitals, and they tell us how many different products they need. And for those of you out there that are type O donors, especially O negatives, you know this, it's a universal blood type, so we really need those blood units to have on their shelves. And when we start to get into a situation where people just simply are too busy or haven't been donating, then those shelves become lower and lower. And so we really are fearful that we will have a looming blood supply issue. So that's why it's so important to donate blood. Now, on the good news side of things, there have been some changes recently that have made it so people can be more inclusive of blood donation. So if you haven't heard, those of you that have maybe traveled in the past to different locations, we've lifted some of those deferrals. And then the Red Cross also worked really closely with the FDA and other blood banks to change the policy on who can donate. So in the past, it was based on specific sexual preferences, and now it's really based on individual behaviors. And so if you've ever donated blood before, there are specific questions that we ask in health history, and those have changed because the FDA did some studies and realized that it's really about specific behaviors. And so again, we really want to encourage a more inclusive environment for people to feel like they can come and donate. So I would encourage anybody, if they've been advised that they can't donate, to call and check, because it's really a great opportunity now to get people in that maybe have been told no in the past.
And that's a great reminder to everyone. Those restrictions are limited now.
And that is a great thing. The other thing so we're a small agency, right? We have a very small office, and we love our office. It is tiny. Well, not tiny. Anyway, long story short, we would love to host a blood drive, but how could we actually do that, being just a small business?
The challenge with a small business, of course, is what they typically say is about 10% of the population will donate from a business or a group. So if you think about it, you'd need probably about 200 people to get 20 donors to donate from that organization. But what I would encourage you to do is think about your other opportunities or relationships.
Okay.
So for example, most people are involved in other things through their church, through their civic organizations. You know, I know you'd mentioned we just had a Rotary blood drive yesterday, and you both mentioned that you were part of the Rotary. Things like that that allow an opportunity for a larger audience, or if you happen to be in a business that's located around other businesses and you wanted to incorporate that with multiple.
Right, so you can network and do
exactly. It really is about getting a larger group of people together, and then individually. And sometimes it's fun because what we've done in the past with some of those types of groups is make it a competition.
Right.
So if you only have 5 people in your office and you get together with other offices, you know, maybe it's other insurance agents or maybe it's other counterparts, and you say, okay, we're going to be responsible for our 5, you others be each responsible for getting 5 donors, and then you make it a little competition to encourage people to do it.
That is a great idea.
So some of the organizations I know that have hosted blood drives are like D. Davidson or the Chamber, University of Providence, MSU, Montana State University, University of Montana. So how did those can you explain kind of how those come?
Yeah, absolutely. So if anybody's interested in hosting a blood drive, you know, one of the best things to do is just go to our website. Because right on the website it'll give you the option if you're interested in hosting a blood drive. And then you can put through in there, it sends like a form about the information about that, and it directs it to the appropriate account manager. Because we have territories across the state. So we have, you know, an account manager in each location across the state.
Well, and I want to reiterate that this is the state office for the American Red Cross. So when you say it's territories, I mean, it's part of a much bigger team.
Yes, absolutely. So, for example, here in Great Falls, not only do we have a donation center that we're sitting in today and an account manager that handles our mobile blood drives, but we also do platelet collections here. You might hear it as apheresis collections. We do platelet collections here in Missoula, but then also here in Great Falls, it's our manufacturing site. So all the blood products that we collect across the entire state, we have a really great volunteer courier system where volunteers will bring the blood here. Yeah, that's a whole nother topic of something that we could talk about.
So if you see those Red Cross vans on the highway, you know what they're doing. I followed one to Bozeman one morning.
And the majority of time they're volunteers.
That's just
volunteers bringing the blood.
Amazing.
If you think about it, we do blood drives in Sydney, Montana, and those are volunteers bringing the blood back for us.
Oh, that is amazing.
I mean, it's impressive. So again, so many ways people can get involved.
Volunteering is important, and that's through the website as well?
It is, yes. So going back to hosting a blood drive, after you would submit something, we would have an account manager reach out to you. And again, people can reach out to me directly as well. But then what we do is we find out if there's an interest. So typically what we do is we talk to you about the organization that you want to be involved with. You know, is it your workplace? Is it your church? Whatever the community is that you're working with to be the group that's going to be involved. We talk to you about, you know, what the numbers, but also what you expect from that, what that's going to look like. And so then we would maybe provide you with an interest sheet. Because what's funny is some people think, oh, everybody wants to donate. Well, a lot of people want to donate, but aren't able to. And then a lot of people are just, have never done it before. So it's always really nice to kind of gauge their interest. And then what's really good is to have a person that we call the blood program leader at that organization. And they're the person that we work with directly. So they would help us with the recruitment. They would help us with setting up the space. If they don't have a space at that site, we would talk about alternative sites. But, you know, there's one person that kind of owns it from the organization. And there can be a group as well if there's a really, you know, a strong interest from multiple people. But it's always good to have somebody on, you know, the boots on the ground that are helping us make that plan. Because as the Red Cross, we can call donors and we can ask them to donate. But people are far more responsive if it's their coworker or their friend. It becomes your blood drive. And so then it's your donors and you get involved. I mean, we have blood program leaders that have been doing this for 30 years. And you know, they become the blood lady or the blood gentleman from whatever community. And that's who everybody looks to, because it's that community's blood drive. And so that's what I would encourage, is if you are interested, to reach out and we can walk you through all those steps. And then of course our account managers are here to help along the way with whatever your needs are, and to advise you, provide you the tools, make the recommendations of how to get the word out and all of those things.
So I've actually hosted a blood drive before, and they do provide you the forms. You type in the data of the names, contact information, that type of thing. So it's not the workload that you think. You know, you will call and give reminders of when their appointments are, if you're hosting it as an organization, that type of thing. But it's far less work than it may seem. The one thing that I always get in the community that people kind of reach out and say, if they're scared of needles, or how does the process work, you know, they don't want to be embarrassed, they pass out. So maybe can you just explain, you know, the whole process?
Yes,
so kind of to relieve some of that anxiety.
Well, and over the years with technology, it's become easier and easier. Obviously, there's still the needle, but the steps make it a lot smoother. So typically what we do is encourage people to use an app. We have a Red Cross app. You can use it right on your phone. I did this yesterday because I donated yesterday. So basically, you go on your phone, you select an appointment, you find a drive that works for you. You make your selection, you sign right up, and then we do what's called Rapid Pass. Again, right on your phone. You can just fill in all the health history questions right there. So you can find out if you can read the list of medications, you can read the list of deferrals, you know, so you would know right away if there was a reason that you couldn't go in to donate before you even went. But then you can go through that process. It makes it a lot quicker when you arrive. So then when you arrive at the blood drive, you're basically ready to go right back to our health history with our phlebotomists, and they go through things with you. They do a little finger prick to check your iron levels. They check your temperature. You know, they just check some basic things to make sure your pulse, everything, to ensure that you're feeling good that day to donate. And then you go right to the blood donation. And I do know that people say that, you know, that they're concerned about the needle. I just encourage people to look away. Don't look. It's just like when you go to the doctor.
And they're doing something that they need to do to make sure that you're okay.
And you know, the biggest thing before you donate is to eat really well and drink a lot of water. If you don't drink any water at all, you know, if you're not a water drinker, if you're pretty set on your coffee, then I encourage you to really think about it for a few days before.
And hydrate.
Start drinking your water. And it was funny because yesterday one of the phlebotomists was talking about, you know, they encourage people to drink so much water that they feel like they're spending the day before in the bathroom, going to the bathroom, because they're just not used to drinking that much water. But I strongly encourage you to drink a lot of water. Make sure you're eating really well. Don't skip the meals that day. Make sure you're eating well before you go donate. And then that water actually makes it so your veins are pumping a little better, your blood is flowing, and then it makes it easier to get that needle stick.
To actually do
but the actual donation itself, we recommend that people anticipate an hour for their donation, but that's the full process. You know, it's a few minutes when that needle is in your arm.
And then you have the donors stay, right, for a minute and make sure that they're monitored and okay, and can have a snack. I'm looking at the cookies right now.
And chips and water.
We're actually sitting right now at the canteen table, is what we call it. And we encourage our donors, you know, they stay in the beds, in the donor beds for a little bit with the staff right there, and then they're bandaged up and everything. But then we encourage them to stay in the canteen and take a minute to drink a little bit more water or juice. We provide some various snacks. Just take a moment to make sure that they're feeling good. And then, of course, we send them home with information if they have any concerns as well. But typically, you know, our staff are fully trained if there is any kind of reaction. And people just should feel assured that there are staff there right there to take care of their needs.
Absolutely.
Now, one of the items that has always been a concern to some people as I'm trying to promote blood drives and talk to people about donating blood, you know, when they have the health information, especially when it's a remote drive, you know, you're kind of behind a little curtain, like in the corner with. But now the new facility has closed rooms for interviews. Is that correct?
Yes, we do. Yeah. So here with the new facility, we have the nice health history rooms. But again, at the mobile drives, they are behind a screen. But that's the nice thing about using Rapid Pass,
right?
Is you've already basically completed all of that information before you even go to the blood drive. And so they do ask those questions. Just to reiterate, if you've had any concerns or questions, or if you answer positively to some of the things, they want to just clarify. If you've said you've traveled somewhere, they clarify where that maybe has been, or whatever the case might be. But we also, if you've ever been to our blood drives, we play music, and it's not for our staff to be listening to music. It's also to provide that level of confidentiality. Yes.
So if you're not a mobile app user, you can always come to the main facility and go behind closed doors.
One of the things that I noticed as I walked into the building, and we'll share your address, right?
Yes.
3rd floor, is the hours for collection are on your door.
They are on the front door, and that's the hours for this facility. So, like I said, we not only collect whole blood right here at the donor center, but we collect platelets as well.
Right.
And so we're always in need of platelet donors. If people aren't familiar, blood has a shelf life of about 42 days, which is really brief.
Right.
But if you think about it, platelets only have a shelf life of 5 days.
Oh, yikes.
And so it's really important to donate platelets on a consistent basis. So if anybody has donated blood and hasn't interested at all in donating platelets, I would strongly encourage you to consider that, because platelets are needed on a really regular, ongoing basis. And what happens a lot of times is people that are receiving platelets are people that are going through treatment for like cancer, where they need an ongoing supply. And often it's good if they can get the same donors to donate, because then they have less reaction.
Right.
Gotcha.
That makes sense. And the platelets are collected in the blood. I mean, is that a separate process for somebody who doesn't know?
Yes. So when you're donating blood at either our donor centers or at a mobile blood drive, that's what we call whole blood, and that's probably the one that most people are familiar with.
Right.
You put they put the needle in the arm and they take all of the blood out. For the platelet process, it's called apheresis, and so it's a special machine where they take the blood out of one arm and it goes through a centrifuge and it spins the products out, and then it puts the remaining products back in the other arm. So some people actually have a better response to that, because they're sending back the red cells and everything, and they're only keeping the platelets.
Gotcha.
But that process does take a little bit longer, so we recommend for that's about 2 hours long.
Okay.
And this facility has very nice chairs where you can watch a movie, entertain yourself while that process is taking place. So just pretend like you're at the spa.
Take a nap.
Exactly. Go to the movies. Exactly. But going back to the hours, so the hours that are posted on the door of the building are perfect for this center. But what I would encourage people to do is to go to the website to find a blood drive near them. So if the donor center hours don't work for them, we have blood drives all over the communities. We have blood drives not only in the main communities of Montana, but we're going to smaller communities all over. So the easiest way to find a blood drive is to just put your zip code in, and it'll pull up all the blood drives in your area.
Perfect.
So when we're at the ribbon cutting for the Bozeman facility, because this is hopefully statewide that we are going to get these blood donors from, the Bozeman facility has a very similar color scheme now as the Great Falls facility. Is that going to continue on as we try to progress throughout the different facilities in the state?
Yes, actually, it's funny because some of our other locations, if people have been to the Missoula location, we redid that several years ago. And so it's a great facility. So Great Falls and Bozeman were just in high need of that to be done. But yes, there is a standard kind of theme now with the decor, so it's really nice, and it's nice to get that. It's like when you go to any business, a McDonald's or whatever, you walk in,
and you know you're there.
You know you're there. Yeah.
So if you donated in the past, the purple carpet is no longer a thing. It's beautiful hardwood plank flooring.
Hopefully they don't miss it.
I think I've heard multiple stories in the community about the purple carpet since the 1970s. So as they've been blood donors throughout the years, so it's well worth your time to come and renew that blood donation and come and see the new facility as well.
Yes, it's a beautiful facility, and again, it's not only important for our blood donors and the donor center itself, but as I said, this is kind of of the hub for our manufacturing, kind of the location. We have the largest number of employees here in Great Falls, so it's really a nice facility. Our humanitarian volunteers will meet here on different occasions.
Right.
So it's just it's nice to be able to put that back into a facility. And as you said, it was in need. It'd been since the 70s.
Right.
Yeah.
So that update. So I know that there's more that you could share.
Yeah.
Right. Is there more today that you'd like us to know about the blood collection? And sorry, we have a rocket.
You know, I would just say the need is constant.
Right.
It is always constant. You know, if you have the opportunity to donate blood, please do that because the need is a constant.
Right.
Right now, it's of an urgent need, and unfortunately, I think it's just coming out of the Labor Day holiday could end up being even more important.
So.
And then throughout the year, we have critical times. So typically in the summer, it becomes very challenging, and then also around the holiday time, it becomes very challenging. But I would also say there's people out there that just simply can't donate blood. And so there are a lot of other ways to get involved.
Right.
You know, volunteering, whether it's volunteering as a host for a blood drive, volunteering as a donor ambassador, those people that help at our blood drives, or as I explained earlier, our couriers. We're always looking for couriers to come. About 90% of our employment, or of our workforce across the country is volunteers.
Those numbers were staggering
amazing.
when we visited with Diane before. It was just like so impressive.
Yes, yeah. Well,
And
the volunteers are impressive.
Right,
I mean, if
speaks
you
to the organization.
Yeah.
Just that considerate commitment that the volunteers are making.
Yes. I mean, if you think about a platelet donor can come and donate every 2 weeks. You know, our couriers are driving hours across the state. I mean, the state of Montana is huge.
And we don't speak miles, we speak hours.
Right. It's
Or
huge.
orange corns in the summertime. Those orange
Right.
cones just seem to sprout up in the summer.
Just think about how we rely so much on volunteers and then the dedication of those volunteers.
Yeah,
It's just amazing. But then when I have an opportunity to speak to a recipient, you know, somebody who their child has needed blood products because they wouldn't have survived without that, you know, it's just so appreciative of all of our volunteers.
Yes. That's really wonderful.
So awesome, yeah. Is there anything else? I mean, I know
I think we've covered a lot.
Well, and we'll come back because there's an ongoing need to communicate what's happening. And
So, Carmen, how do they reach you? What's your phone number and the website?
Yes.
Address?
I will put it up as well.
Yeah, it goes up on the video.
So Carmen Madsen, and the best way to do a lot of things is on our website, so that's redcrossblood.org. But if you wanted to reach out directly to me, my phone number is 406-868-7202, and I'm happy to talk to anybody across the state and direct them to the appropriate person for a blood drive. And then the site up here is at 1300 28th Street South, and we're on the 3rd floor.
Right.
So please, organizations and civic groups, please get together, host those blood drives, and let's make it happen so we can increase our blood supply for our citizens of Montana. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate
Thanks
it.
for having us. We appreciate it. Join us next week for the next episode of In Our Neighborhood.